Hey Jake! Have you seen the pliers? I think I left them in your bedroom. Now maybe I left them downstairs. All right. Oh my goodness, I did not just do that. I did. I locked myself in the basement. Unbelievable. Oh, what am I gonna do? Well, it's all good because I got a good message for you today about the Apostle Paul and about how he was locked in a situation. And I want to tell you that your lock is loaded. As I was studying this week, I was thinking about the Apostle Paul and a lot of his trials and things that he had gone through. And I came across a scripture in his letter to the Philippian church. It's from Philippians chapter 1, verse 12, where he said, "I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel." What an incredible statement, especially when you consider all the things that the Apostle Paul had gone through. I mean, the man was imprisoned, he was beaten, he was persecuted, people stabbed him in the back. No matter where he went, there was controversy. And the whole time he was actually following God's plan for his life. That's the crazy thing. When we decide we want to follow God, it doesn't always mean that things are going to be easy, but what we do know is that God's purposes are going to be fulfilled in the end. When he actually wrote those words, believe it or not, he was in jail. He was writing a letter to his friends at this Roman colony of Philippi, and he was talking to them in depth about his great joy and how awesome his relationship with Jesus was. In fact, how it really changed everything. Paul ended up in jail in Rome because he decided to go to Jerusalem after he had been on missionary journeys for several years throughout the Mediterranean. So he decides at one point that the Lord is speaking to him about going back to the place where it all started. And when he goes there, despite the nudging of his friends not to, he ends up in the temple courts. And he ends up getting arrested because his opponents make up some lies about him bringing a Gentile in and trying to destroy the religion of their ancestors. Of course, this all wasn't true. Paul was preaching the true gospel about Jesus that is unfolded throughout Old Testament history. And yet he goes to God's people, and just like Jesus whom he served, he was rejected. He ends up getting beaten, getting arrested, and spending 2 years in a jail in Judea before he's shipped off to Rome. Of course, it wasn't over once they sent him there. He was shipwrecked on an island called Malta at one point, where he ends up healing the governor's son and from disease and others on the island and doing incredible miracles. God worked even through his shipwreck to change lives and advance his message. Then finally, once they had spent the winter there, he went on to stay in a rented house in Rome where he was able to actually entertain visitors and continue to teach others about Jesus. So in total, he was in this jail in this season of his life for 4 years. I mean, we've been in quarantine now for probably about 4 weeks, but maybe it feels like 4 years for you. What's, I think, telling about him was the great way that God was able to use him, despite the fact that he had locked doors everywhere. You'd think it would have stopped him. You'd think it would have quenched his joy and his excitement, but it actually had the opposite effect. And the crazy thing was, in his own words, he says that what has happened to me, all of this stuff, everything, I think you might be able to say about your life, whatever has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. It has served to advance God's purposes in your life and in this world. And that's a really exciting thing. Unbelievable. I can't believe I locked myself in my own basement. I'm never going to hear the end of this. It's probably going to be on social media by the end of the day.
And I'll tell you what, with this quarantine stuff going on, and it's like I had so much stuff to do today. It's like things just go from bad to worse. The thing about our locks, whatever kind of lock it is, whether it's you locking yourself in a basement or, something situationally that's preventing you from becoming the person that you want to be. Maybe you got a piece of bad news. Maybe your finances aren't where they're supposed to be, and you think that's preventing you from the life that you want to have. Those things, what they are is they're like locks. They're closed doors that keep us from the things that we think we need in life. And the thing about locks is that locks tend to kill our outlook. It's easy to be happy and it's easy to have a source of joy when everything's going good in your life. But that's not the way it was for Paul, especially when you look at all the stuff that he went through. He was shipwrecked, he was put in prison. In fact, he was actually in a jail cell when he wrote those words to the Philippian church. I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. Yes, our locks can prevent us and they can frustrate us. Oh my goodness, can they? But the thing is, God's not always interested in our mood as much as he is in our sanctification, as much as he is in changing us more and more into the image of Jesus. And I'm certain that's what he was doing in Paul's life. It's interesting that he uses that word served, that these things have served. The beatings or the imprisonments or the sleepless nights or going without food, people stabbing him in the back. This stuff, which hurts, actually served the gospel. It's just an incredible word, because what it says is that the gospel and God isn't serving our circumstances, but everything in this creation, including everything that happens to you and to me, including being locked in this basement right now, as crazy as that sounds, serve the gospel. And they serve what God is doing in your life. Well, I guess when there's nothing else to do, go on Facebook. Oh, that's a cute picture. Oh, I love cat videos. Huh. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, it looks like my buddy Rick is struggling today. Huh. I'll have to shoot him a text message and let him know I'm thinking about him. This actually brings me to my next point, and that is that opportunities abound through availability. It seems like we're not available to do something. A situation constricts us, or it frustrates us, or we don't have an opportunity to do something. But when I say availability, what I mean is we're making ourselves open in our hearts to serve someone else or to let God use us no matter where we're at. And one thing you can do when you're in the midst of a quarantine or, when you're going through something yourself is reach out to somebody else. Sometimes that's just the thing that will change your mood and get you focused on the joy that God has for you. Oh, life is tough when you're forced to do laundry. What is this? Huh. Wow. This is my prayer list from my Zoom meeting with Gospel Church this week. I wonder if I could just pray for these people right now. I've got nothing else to do. I'm locked in my basement. I've got nowhere to go. Nothing to do. Maybe God can even help me find a sense of purpose in my prison. Yeah. See, that's the thing. When we make ourselves available, God will give us opportunities in abundance that we weren't able to see before because maybe we just weren't focused on it, or maybe we were too distracted, or maybe we were too busy. But if you open yourself up and look around, I think there's something right around the corner that you can do today to bless somebody else. In fact, I'm going to pray for these people right now. Yeah, you've got that yummy, yummy, yum. I just got an idea. What if I shoot sermon videos, YouTube style. Oh, wow. I mean, I think that would be so cool. You know, that's actually what happened to me. I was thinking during the quarantine one day that it would be really cool if I took my sermons and I packaged them kind of like in a way where we're telling a little bit of a story. And that's how these videos came about. When you're going through something, or when your door is locked, I think God might have something in store for you. Sometimes He'll give you a special piece of inspiration. And I think that's a great direction to go with your downtime. Ask God to give you a new light, a new way to think about something, or maybe a new idea that you can act on and bless others with. I love Captain Underpants. It's amazing what I got done. You know, I thought I was locked in my basement, but it turns out that this situation was really loaded with opportunity. I mean, I was able to encourage a friend. I got a book read. I prayed for a ton of people. I was so productive. I even got my basement cleaned out and my laundry done. It's incredible. You know, by capitalizing on this opportunity, it's actually created a little bit of confidence in my heart that God is in control. And I know that's what Paul did. Paul capitalized on his circumstances, and that produced confidence. When you make yourself available, you open your heart to be used by God. You look through the eyes of faith and stop letting the circumstances of life get you down and dictate to you the way you're going to think about things. It produces a level of confidence that the world can't give you and that the world can't take away. Paul talked about it. He actually said it to the Philippian church, you know. He actually said this going on after verse 12. He said that the circumstances that he had gone through had served to advance the gospel, but he said that it had made all of the other believers more confident to share the good news with others more confidently. Wow. It makes me wonder what he might do with all of my life when I give my moods to him, or I'm able to say to God, I want to serve you with my mind and my time and my strength today, with everything. What might he do? We can see what he did through the life of the Apostle Paul and the great joy that it produced in his heart when he served Jesus. I know that he can do the same thing in your circumstance today. And he will, when you make yourself available, produce a great confidence that wells up on the inside forever. You know, this experience has been all about a perspective change for me. When you make yourself available, God really does change you on the inside, even if he doesn't change your circumstances. He'll use you to do great and mighty things when you open yourself up. And, you know, what are the keys to that? What are the keys to unlocking your potential and God's power in the midst of your situation? I'm going to give you 3. The first one is to act. A lot of people don't necessarily think that action can actually help you. Sometimes if you're feeling depressed or you don't know which direction to go, if you find someone to help you, maybe a good friend to talk to, they can help you determine a course of action. In activity, it's actually proven, it actually it increases dopamine levels in our brain. Sometimes just working out, exercising, you're gonna have a lot of downtime in the quarantine. So just having an exercise regimen or just being active about doing anything, maybe work around the house or getting out of the house, but acting, doing something about the way you feel and not just letting it get the best of you. I think that's the first thing you can do. Secondly, something I do every single day is confess. There's 2 kinds of confession. There's going before God and actually saying to him, God, I confess wrongdoing in my life. You see this throughout the Bible, and God cleanses us and he draws us closer to himself. But because sometimes sometimes things that we're doing wrong are actually preventing us from being used by God, and we don't realize it. So if he draws something to your attention, certainly confess it. But the second kind of confession is a positive confession. It's speaking the way God feels about you, communicating the thoughts that he has in regard to your life or who you are as a person. And so, this is something I've actually written out a list of confessions, a list of things that I say. One of the things that I say every single day is that God is at work in my life today, making me more fruitful and fit for service in his kingdom. I think it's certainly applied to my time in the basement here. God is also at work in your life, making you more fruitful. He's making you more fit. He's growing his kingdom through you. Even right now, I'm continually amazed at all the things God is doing in this world in the midst of this time. It really is amazing. It speaks of our mighty God and his purposes to draw all men unto himself. He has great power, and you have great potential to be used by him in any situation and in any context. The third thing is to talk. Sometimes we need to actually just, get the way we're feeling out. Sometimes we need to talk to others. God has placed other people in our lives for a reason, to help us and to work. And so I think that you can reach out to other people. I was speaking with somebody the other day who talked about how they were struggling, just kind of like getting out of bed in the morning and feeling down, in the midst of the quarantine. One thing you could and should do is rely on other people. Talk. Speak to other people. You can speak to them and tell them the way you're feeling. You can also confess the great things that God has done in your life. And I think when you act in that way, God's going to do great things, just like he did through me and in me today. Now all I've got to do is get out of here. I'm stuck. But you know what? I've got confidence because of all God's done in my heart. So, you know what? I give up, Lord. I trust you, and you are in control.
I thought I heard a little girl crying down here.
No. Sometimes the dryer makes funny noises when it's overloaded.
Okay. Were you looking for these?
Unbelievable. Don't forget to like us on social media at Pastor AJ Platt or at Gospel Church 116. We love you in Jesus, and have a great week.